Just give me any comics! Hey, you're listening to Just Give Me Indie Comics, broadcasting live from the Pens and Pedals studio at the bottom of Lake Ontario, featuring me, Aaron Z. Lee, creator of such excellent books as Pizza's Pizza, Son of a Pizza Man, and Was It the Robot. You can catch me at Ithacon, this weekend, but next weekend, shilling my wares, Was It the Robot, Pizza's Pizza, Creep of the Crop, all that good stuff. We'll talk about that more at the end. But joining me today, I have Evan Coy and Alex Dexter.
Your tyrannical comic shop despot and
just a regular.
Just a guy.
Some guy.
And we're going to be joined shortly too by Cayetano Valenzuela, who is running a little bit late, but that's okay. That's Alex. I don't know if you know this, but in the comic shop universe, there are only two people who run on time, and they're both sitting on this couch.
Seems accurate.
Well, then I didn't have to go anywhere, so
It's true.
You can't be late to your own affair.
But at least I had things set up in a way that made sense. Well, Evan helped me with that too.
Yeah.
But I put forward some effort.
No, definitely. I think
you're hosting, so
that's
you
true.
put forth the maximum effort.
Maximum effort.
I have to laugh.
Yeah, very.
Our setup in the shop is all like XLR cables and everything like that. Mm-hmm. And then our setup here is all USB driven. So two totally different ways of doing things, each equally confusing in their own right. But we're here.
But knock on wood, this appears to be working.
We're here. We're doing it.
So the mission of the Just Give Me Indie Comics podcast is to, number one, feature more indie stuff, more indie comics. For all the way from photocopies all the way up to maybe like image stuff that has like TV deals and such. But then also there's an ulterior motive because we've been doing the Oswego Comic Shop makes a comic,
which is on the spinner rack. I think it's on the bottom of one of those.
Yeah, you just gotta spin it a little bit.
It'll
show up at the bottom. But so that's our community kind of comic that we crowdsource pages and then publish it and give it out for free.
I think we put it on the camera over here.
Yeah, we could do that. So we got. Here's the Extreme Summer Splash. This is the last one we did. We're currently working on alternate realities.
Yeah, someday I will remember to email my stuff. I've only been meaning to throw them into Illustrator and make it into a panel for about what did we do that 2 months ago? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've been the same. Same boat. I came over here about a month ago to work, maybe even longer. Maybe it was like a week or two after we actually did it. Where I'm like, I'm just going to finish it at Aaron's because he has better computer stuff I can use. And we just ended up watching a movie. We watched the Guillermo del Toro.
Nightmare Alley.
Nightmare Alley.
Did you see Nightmare Alley, Alex?
I didn't see it.
It's good.
When you guys were talking about it on the podcast, I was like,
I recommend.
I gotta check out.
It's not like a terribly uplifting movie, but the craft of it makes it very rewatchable.
It's all the more reason for me to watch it. Uplifting doesn't really do a whole lot for me.
If you believe in the inevitable slide into darkness, the movie is for you.
Perfect.
We're not talking movies though today. We're talking comics.
That's right.
We're being very comic centric.
There we go. Evan keeping us on task here. The thing that I would like to talk about, I've been bugging like the regular show to get us to talk about Alexis Ziritt, but I think an indie showcase is definitely a better place for that. So Alexis,
we're gonna shout out Sticks Boy in the chat too. Sticks Boy in the chat.
Sticks Boy.
Oh, we got somebody in the chat.
STYX Sticks Boy.
Hey, thanks for being in the chat. Should I load up?
I got it.
Oh, it's up there. Okay.
Yeah,
all right, we're under control here. So Alexis Ziritt is an artist that came on my radar. I'm not sure exactly when. Like, I know he was big on Society 6. You guys remember Society 6?
Yes. I actually, so to sidetrack briefly, my Christmas gift to Sarah was a reproduction of an Edo period woodblock, and I got it from Society 6. Came in a really nice frame and all that.
Nice.
That's cool.
So...
Yeah, and so that's where I first discovered this artist, and then more recently, like in 2016, I went to the Toronto Comics and Art Festival, and I mean that event is just awesome because it's the people who make the comics behind the counter a lot of the time, and I just turned around and Alexis Ziritt was right there.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh, I really like your work. I'm going to buy it right now. which happened a bunch of times at that show. And since then, that's when I got this copy of Space Riders that I have signed. I think. We're
going to shout out another person.
Yeah.
Dragon Tempter in the chat.
Dragon Tempter. Hello, Dragon Tempter. Thanks for watching.
Yeah,
it is. I don't think she's ever watched any of our streams before, though.
Fair enough.
This is the one to draw you.
This is it.
the indie
when Cayetano walks through the door, all bets are off.
Yeah, the only one I don't have signed by Alexis Ziritt, I think, is Space Riders #2. But before we get into that, should we talk a little bit about how we all got into indie comics in the first place?
Yeah. So kind of like we were talking about before when we were doing our little warm-up before we really started up.
Very rehearsed.
It's like the realization that the first indie comic that I ever got into was the original Ninja Turtles. My uncle used to get it for me pretty regularly. Then there was like a large gap where obviously the big two I got Spider-Man and Batman and some other odds and ends. But then I remember maybe being 11 or 12 and going to the comic shop and getting Wetworks. And that was definitely my first Image title. And it's like, I was definitely not really old enough to be reading Wetworks, but like, it wasn't too over the top for me at the time.
I don't really remember Wetworks that well. I think it walks that line where maybe it's a little inappropriate.
There's
but I don't
lots
think
of scantily clad people, and there's lots of mercenaries killing vampires and some such gory effect.
You can get that in Marvel and DC, though, too.
Yeah. A lot of hunks and babes shooting vampires. It was the 90s, though. It was a different time.
Yeah.
It was
Lots of pouches.
Lots of pouches.
Big, shiny armor.
Lots of shoulder pads. The bigger the shoulder pads, the better. Which is coming out of the 80s, too. But the shoulder pads went from, like, ornamental in a sport coat to, like, straight up, metallic.
Several feet off of each shoulder.
Well, that was a very, like, I remember my mom dressing in a blazer in, like, the 80s, and she had, like, the big shoulder pad things. Like, that was a thing that maybe just became more and more exaggerated. My mom was not a superhero, to my knowledge. But, like, maybe that was, like, the template for how things, became exaggerated.
A funny thing that, maybe somebody saw one of those Fashion Week.
Yeah.
We can run with this.
Well, I think the connecting piece is like the Todd McFarlane illustration, because if you've ever seen, like, because he kept drawing like women in shoulder pads for a while.
Sure.
And his sense of fashion was very odd.
Look, I mean, Spawn alone, like just a giant pointy cloak, lots of angular stuff going on there.
But that's superhero stuff. Like even how he drew like normal people.
Oh, okay.
Like especially like the dresses that like quote unquote normal women would wear would be very strange.
Oh well, Larson kind of followed up with that too. Just thinking of like the Spider-Man stuff, where like it was very stylized, weird 80s and 90s fashions where I think you look back and go, what is that? But I think it was rooted in some kind of reality, but just exaggerated like everything else. Oh, is that Cayetano?
Maybe.
Oh, I'm gonna go check it out. Let me see.
It's like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood now.
It always makes me wonder what where like the stereotypical punk, like talking about 80s and 90s drawings, and like especially Ninja Turtles, where you had Rocksteady and Bebop. It's just like there's that quintessential punk, like nose ring and chains.
Speaking of punk,
Mohawk.
we've got Cayetano Valenzuela with us.
Hey, what's going on?
You're on the couch.
All right, sounds good. What's up, folks?
Not too much.
All right.
Just getting into the swing of things.
Right on.
We're talking about stereotypical punks. Is that what you're
it's
talking
kind
about?
of so
No,
we get
just
into the,
like if you were to do a drawing of a punk, what do you draw?
Like pointy, like big shoulder pads from the early '90s comics and all that, and the way that people were really stylizing armor, and it's like, where did that inspiration come from? Like, because everybody knows any drawing of a punk from a comic is always the same. They're wearing like a tattered pair of shorts and like a tank top, and they got like a mohawk. It's like, okay, where exactly did that like one character come from? That was just replicated over and over.
Cayetano is our punk expert here. If you want to introduce yourself, I guess, 'cause we kind of did a little bit of an intro.
we've only been talking for a few minutes.
All right.
And then after we did our little intros, Aaron brought up what got us into independent comics, like what made us do the leap from maybe Marvel or DC to indie stuff. Yeah. To which Alex kind of never really started with Marvel or DC stuff. So
yeah, I mean,
just curious about your background.
All right. Well, first of all, my name's Cayetano Valenzuela. I'm a Chicano comic creator and artist all around. Mm-hmm. And I guess I'm the same way. Like I never really got into the superhero comics straight away. I started with indie comics, and it was something that was introduced to me by a buddy of mine, and sort of through punk rock friends that I met through like. Well, I mean, really at the time it was grunge. Punk hadn't really come on like fully on the scene when I started getting into comics. It was grunge music, and that sort of just kind of melded into punk rock in the 90s. So it was just some of my buddies that were just like, check this out, now because I'd never thought that I thought comics were just dudes in underwear kind of thing. It wasn't really something that I was into until my buddy Matt was just like, no, dude, you don't understand. And he brought me, because my best friend, his younger brother, he brought me up to his room and he had like these long boxes and he's like, look at this. And I'm like, wait, what? What is this stuff? Mm-hmm. And he just had like just so much like different things to look at. And, he also, he had the Max. I think that was sort of like, that was the thing that I was really like, whoa, this is so exciting and so energetic. And then also, the Sandman comics I just thought were super cool, and I just I really got into those in a big way, and so I started looking for those comics. But it was really Sam Keith that just the way he drew is just so wild and fluid that I thought it was amazing.
First, I just want to say, are you telling me that comics aren't about men in underwear? Because I have a lot of things that could dispute that. Second, Sam Keith was. We've talked about Sam Keith before.
Yeah, I've got some Sam Keith right now.
Like, I was into comics, but him or Mark Texiera might have been the first artist that I saw doing Marvel books where I was like, what on earth is going on here? Yeah. Like, this isn't like the other 25 issues of Marvel comics that I've read. This is like a really weird departure, and I don't know how I feel about it, but I kind of want to see more. Mm-hmm. So that was Sam Keith, definitely somebody of our age, like where it was the art aesthetic that he, that little bit of not Bill Sienkiewicz, but like there was just a different flair to him.
I think there's like Vaughn Baudet in him, and then also like Frank Frazetta. But like that freedom to flow from super cartoony to super realistic, and
that mix.
Yeah, to just and Bill Sienkiewicz he does that too, but in his own way. I'm sure they're not directly inspired by each other, but I'm sure that like they see each other doing something, and then it's like how I see like Paul Pope draw buildings, and they're not like ruled out with a ruler, and it's like I don't have to use a ruler to draw a building. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying I'm as good as Paul Pope, but like I see his stuff, and it gives me I feel like I have more freedom to be like, well, however I can get it down on the page is just fine.
And plus, it feels alive.
Yeah.
It feels like the buildings themselves. Like same with I don't know how to say his name exactly, but Pharrell Dalrymple or Dalrymple. The way he draws buildings, like they're just like they look like they're moving as well. Like everything is just like that energy.
So in some of the opening pages of the was it Night Riders?
Well, there's Space Riders and Night Hunters.
There we go, Night Hunters. So we're talking about like cityscapes and the way people draw buildings. There's a cityscape panel in there that takes place at night fairly early on, and it's all just very bold colors.
Take a look at it.
But the cityscape is represented not so much in clean lines and everything like that, and it's got that very loose sort of idealized, like it's a cityscape, but it's definitely not the windows are perfectly rendered into the background.
It's like gestural and textured.
Yes.
And the thing I like about this too, I mean, I imagine this is kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just saying like et cetera with the line work. It's still like you get the idea of structure and variety. So it feels like different buildings rather than just like, just lines over and over again, just saying, you know what I mean. But absolutely. Like this is actually like, gives you a sense of like the feel of the city as well.
Yeah, but this Night Hunters is I think it's the newest book that Alexis Ziritt did. He did this with writer Dave Baker. It's about it's in the future. It's Venezuela, in the future, because that's where Alexis Ziritt's originally from. He now lives in Miami, but it's a future dystopia where like you can either be an outlaw or you can be a policeman, and there's no other choices. And there's just violence everywhere.
This is dope.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the social commentary and like sci-fi of a Paul Verhoeven movie with like absolute like I don't know, like Technicolor freak out, like cyberpunk.
And not to
like
give
CMYK.
away too much, it's Cayetano's just getting past the part where like Sombra becomes Sombra basically, and it's he go to the chop dock in the alleyway, and he's like, yeah, you're gonna have to come back every couple of years, and it's like by the time you get to the end of the book, like, oh no, he really did. You're not just like maimed by the end. You're basically not even a person.
Yeah, there's so much commentary.
As someone who's looking to push more Hispanic comics too, a great Hispanic vibe in there, just like the favelas and the South American flair of the impoverished and the battles with the police and things like that. It's a little, I don't want to say heavy-handed, because it's either you're a cop or you're an enemy of the state.
It's heavy-handed in a way that's story-driven wise makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's like the cops are yelling, only cops get to do crime.
Yeah.
It's like pretty on the nose, but like it's entertaining in its own right.
But it's like a Paul Verhoeven movie, though.
Exactly.
Like Dead or Alive, You're Coming With Me, that kind of stuff.
Hey, Murdoch64 wants to know, who is the writer? Is there just one volume?
Just one volume so far. Dave Baker. I think he goes by Davey Baker. But he's on social media. He's written a whole bunch of other stuff, too. He just did Everyone is Tulip. That was a big indie release that he did that was getting some attention. But, Alexis Ziritt collaborates with some other writers. I know on Space Riders, he collaborated with Wrangle Jr.
I love the cover of that Space Riders. I don't know. There's something about it that just like,
It's like Jack Kirby meets like
scratches an itch in my brain.
Jack Kirby meets like Spain Rodriguez or something like that.
I can tell it resonates with Alex because every one of Alex's T-shirts looks like a variant cover to that very book.
I'm actually shocked that you hadn't read it already, because it felt like something that you would have.
Well, that's why it was. When you had mentioned that there were a few books you wanted to talk about, and I managed to get. I had Night Hunters for like about a week, and then when I stopped at the shop this week, I was like, oh, and here's the other one that you want. It's like, oh man, I kind of wish that I had seen this other one first.
Yeah. I bought it online, and you could buy it with an original sketch.
Let's see the sketch.
Yeah, we can throw the sketch.
And we're going to say thank you to Dragon Tempter for subscribing to Tier 1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the original Sombra sketch from Alexis Ziritt. His sketches, he always I don't know if this is highlighter or something, but the colors on his own original stuff. I think he does like chalk pastel or something too. Like I look at the prices he has for commissions, and like they're not outrageous. And I look at them every once in a while. I'm like, oh, I should just do it because that RoboCop poster up there is by him too.
Yeah, that's dope. That's such a cool poster.
Yeah, but sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, I mean dude. Speaking of originals, when Mignola was out there in New York, he had a folder full of originals.
That's super cool.
So actually, tell us about you were just down at
let's do that.
What was it, MOCCA?
Yeah, in New York. I Texas and then New York.
And I don't want to get off of Alex Ziritt because we think there's another book too, but like you're in the process of pitching a book right now, which I think is very interesting. So you've been meeting with a few publishers, and you were just down in New York. Yeah, that was awesome, and I mean, really, I wasn't planning on going to New York. I was going to go to Rice with Aaron, and they were really mad you didn't go.
Well, I talked to him, and I told him, I was like, listen, I'm really sorry. I really hope it doesn't reflect bad, but it's really crucial that I go down there because I have an introduction, that directly with some publishers down there. So it was really Frank Camuso that was like, hey man, why don't you come to New York with me and just start pitching it? Just do it,
Frank Camuso is the head of graphic design at Syracuse or illustration.
He just does illustration.
And then he's got a kids book published through Random House. It's Edson Beaker, Creature Seeker, which we have a couple volumes of. It's a fun kids book. And occasionally, he's a customer at the shop. Big, tall dude. Once in a blue moon.
Also one of the co-founders of Ahoy Comics.
Yes, Ahoy's, which is a comics company based out of Syracuse, which has a lot of big names.
Yeah, well, because Tom Payer, like he's was at DC for like 15 years or something like that.
Yeah, he did Marvel stuff too. Yeah, he was with the big two for a long time.
I mean, he knows like everybody. So and Frank has just been really cool. We actually we met over the pandemic just through D&D. So we were just playing D&D with our kids online. Yeah. So but we started talking comics, and he was just like, "Why don't you come to New York?" So I went, and he did some introductions, and they were pretty good, man. Like all of my responses were really good. So I'm so I've got email follow-ups and stuff to do, and and I also I plan on sending out to other places just to kind of see. And Frank was just like, "It's gonna happen. You just take the best deal. That's literally all there is to it."
That's very
Take
encouraging.
the best deal. Yeah.
As someone who's the highest level of professional, telling you, you just take the best deal. That's encouraging.
So I'm just like, it felt really good, man. Especially because when I walked in the room, I haven't been to I went to MOCCA years ago.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been back since, just because wasn't in the cards. But when I walked in that room, man, everything was so cool. I mean, just everything, everywhere I looked was just the coolest art, the most beautiful design, great colors everywhere I looked. And so going in there and then still getting a really good response from these folks, I was just like, okay, I really feel like I've got something here. I don't know where it's going to go exactly. I know I'm going to keep making it, but one of the guys was when we start emailing, and he said when, not if. He's like, when we start emailing,
Very
you
satisfying.
need to put this in there and this in there so I can send it to our people in LA that run, Megascope, which is an imprint of Abrams. And so I'm just I don't even know if I should be saying that, but
Nobody's watching. It's okay.
We can edit it out if you want to.
So it was just really cool, and the guy was seemed really interested. It wasn't just he wasn't just oh, this is cool, thank you. He was looked through it, and he let me do my actual pitch. He looked at the papers that I had with him, because the pitch, it wasn't just here's the book and here's the idea. It's here's this a synopsis of the story, a breakdown of the characters, the reason why I'm making it, and then basically what it would be. So graphic novel, about 176 pages.
The strong elevator pitch. Yep.
Yeah. And so and I put this is what I put. This is for you actually, by the way.
Oh, snap! Yeah, let's throw this up on the camera.
Yeah.
So
this is good, because I told you I was going to bring my copy, and then I was running around and totally forgot. So.
But yeah, that's the Rainbow Room, and then along with that, I put in the postcard and then the synopsis and stuff, and he seemed really interested. He stopped, looked at it, he flipped through it a couple times, and listened to what I said, asked questions, and then we talked about.
Did you get a chance to see that? Did I show
you
a copy?
The one day I was at the store.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was very cool.
Did you guys know each other?
I feel like we
have met, and this is the strangest thing that I don't even know if you'll remember it.
Yeah.
Probably 10 or more, 15 years ago. My parents owned a campground out by Rudy's.
Okay.
And I think you were a summer camp counselor at the same time as some of my friends.
Okay.
And everybody came back from Camp Hollis, and we were all hanging out at the campground. And they're like, "Oh, this is Cayetano. He's been doing this stuff with us." And I was like, "Okay, cool, yeah." We're all just hanging out.
Wait,
and
so
that was the first time we ever met, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, no, he does all this great art." I'm like, "Oh yeah, he does do great art." And it's but that was the first time that I ever met you, whether you remember it or not.
So is that back with with 4-H?
Yeah, it was around that time. Yeah.
The dude with the red hair.
Yep.
Tall fellow with red hair. Okay. Weird. Oh,
yeah.
That's so weird. Wait, you didn't go to my party? How old were you then?
17, 18, something like that. Maybe, no, it's probably a little bit older.
Did you come to a party that got broken up by the police?
That
7th
that was a
Street?
weird time in my life, so maybe?
Okay, because all they came to this party, everyone that was at 4-H, and they brought other people, and it was it got out of control real quick.
I thought you two were the straight edge guys.
That sounds not at that point.
No.
That was a few years later.
So this is 4-H, so we're talking goats and chickens.
Oh,
I mean, with the kids, because I was working through AmeriCorps, and so after, so I went out and did, and that was actually really fun. I really like working with high school age kids. It's just fun. They're crazy. But so after camp and stuff like that, we'd go and we'd hang out, have a few drinks with the counselors and stuff, and yeah. I had my 21st birthday party, and we just went nuts, and the police came and.
So Cayetano, this is Alex Cayetano. Alex is like our biggest consumer of indie comics.
Awesome.
Maybe.
Well, it depends if I'm in the shop at the same time as him, and I look at what he's buying, and I'm like, I'll have one of those.
Well, so
I'll have one of those.
Like I look at Aaron's spinner rack, and we have a lot of the same stuff. But like I also see things that maybe I'll have to order some of that. But that makes me want to get a shot of my bookshelf. For next time we do this, be like, hey, so like I don't know, here's some weird stuff that I have that's just kicking around.
And if you spin it, there's some other weird stuff on there too, like Shatter, the first computer-generated comic. Right now. Yeah, because the internet is a wild place, man. So I'm part of a few groups where they post comics that they're trying to sell, and even if I don't buy them, they stick in my head. I'm like, oh, that's a really cool book. And so it's not just books that are coming out now. It's also books that came out in like the 70s, books that came out in the 80s, books that came out in the 90s, and it's and the internet. It's just like eBay is like this cool book is like, hey, I'm $5, and I'm like, okay,
yeah,
I'll take that book.
Yeah.
Cayetano, tell me a little bit about your comic here, the Rainbow.
Okay, yeah, the Rainbow Room. It's a Latinx teen horror. Or paranormal fantasy, I guess it sort of fits somewhere in that realm. And it's a story about two brothers who kind of stumble into this magical nexus point at the edge of their barrio, their neighborhood, and they come across a shadowy apparition that sort of gives them these instructions. But this shadowy apparition is also like in control of a sort of rival gang that is hanging around that spot and kind of claiming these the neutral area where that's supposed to be, and they sort of find themselves having to navigate the neighborhood that they thought they knew. There's a whole another like underground version of their neighborhood, just like people that they hadn't known before.
Is that the end of it when they're staring down the tunnel?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love every page, and Aaron and I talked about this. Mm-hmm. Every page is different. Every page layout has like a unique feel to it.
Yeah, see, and like that's the thing is like I wasn't sure if that was good or what, because I just made it. I mean, literally, like this whole process has been me like being like, I don't know how to do it, but I'm doing it anyway. I'm just gonna try hard to make something cool.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that just life in general?
Yeah, I guess so.
Nobody really knows what we're doing, but like, just try really hard, and hey, maybe if a few things go your way, it'll all work.
Well, we were talking about drawing buildings earlier. I think when the layout changes, it becomes more alive too, because it's not arbitrarily changed. All the changes to the layout serve the story.
Right.
Like
I wondered, because when I see a comic that has like very like rigid layouts, it has a certain pace and rhythm to it that I also enjoy. Yeah. So like my favorite comic, actually, I brought it with because I don't know if you guys, I mean, you guys must know it, but it's Poor Sailor by Sam Harcum.
We've talked about it before. That's how I even know about it.
And it's all just square format, and I just absolutely love the tone and feel of that comic. I own one of the original pages of that book.
Good.
Sammy Harcum, a really well-known indie cartoonist.
Yeah, I love him. This is awesome too.
I really like. It seemed like an interesting story, but I like the green wash that they use for everything.
Yes.
Like I've got a few monotone books, but they usually like lean into like blue washes, and you know, there's not a lot of like it's vibrant, but not in the same way.
Jordan Crane, like he's been putting out some amazing stuff on Instagram. Just like, you know, swipe through comics that are just like, you know.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
They're so good.
There's a handful that I follow.
I like the rounded format.
Me too, and I guess that book doesn't come out for a couple months yet.
Oh wow!
Oh boy!
So they had it there. And
You're breaking street date, man.
I won't go to the end of it.
Please buy this.
I really love comics that do that limited color palette too.
Me too. I really want to get into like doing comics that just have just a single color, which is what I plan on doing with that Night Moves book that I've been working on. It's new. I mean, it's.
What's your other book then?
Night Moves. It's actually this right here. It's actually just the originals. Well, no, it's actually not originals. It's some originals, but it's the jack-o'-lantern headed dude that just runs through the city.
Oh, that's awesome! Yeah, I love that thing.
Is that kind of like some of the illustrations you have at the shop?
Yeah, kind of like it's Halloween inspired, you know, but it's a Halloween
I see
sort of stories. Just because I love that stuff. So
Alex, thanks for reminding me. If you want to pass that over there.
All right. Yeah. Oh,
Drug deal on screen. We sold a prints day. We sell Cayetano's prints at the shop, although we're running out of prints, to be honest.
oh, really?
We don't have a ton of your stuff left.
Oh, right. Well, I mean,
but-
if you're interested, I could bring some new ones. I got some new
whatever.
stuff. And,
There's no rush.
but yeah, this is check it out.
Do you want to hand that to Aaron then? Or
Ooh.
He's got the nice document camera.
All right,
over there.
we got to make
Wait.
some changes.
Yeah, you want me to take some stuff or?
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah. Make yourself useful, Evan.
I know.
Jeez, come on, just sitting over there.
All right.
But this one I'm gonna try and do just a little orange in there, like black and white and orange.
So I got it the right way.
How big are you working? Are these 11 by 17 or?
No, it's actually smaller. There's the other deleter paper size, so it's actually like a bit of a smaller
I have to
format. And then I've just been working
get a
on
bigger boat.
just regular cardstock paper, just because that's what I started. I mean, really, like this started off as an Inktober project where I was just drawing this character,
yeah.
and I was just drawing it on these individual cards, and then I was like, you know what? Let me just put this on Instagram. And as I put it on there, I'm like, this is a story. I don't know what's going to happen in this story. And then over, say a couple weeks, I was like, I kind of got this idea of what the story would be. And then I got so far by the end of October, and then I was just like, I kind of still want to work on it.
Yeah.
So I just like kind of developed a story, and I'm like, okay, I got the whole story. I know exactly what's going to happen. And I've been really trying to keep it short.
Yeah.
That's my main problem, is that I come up with these stories all the time, and they just become these huge leviathans, and I'm just like, there's no way I can wrangle that.
I'm going to go back to Murdoch64, said, I love indie books. Like the colors remind me of the Parker series. I'm guessing that's
Ooh,
referring to...
yeah. Parker is
the
monochromatic
Keeping
too. The Darwin Cook.
I don't know that series.
How insane with the in references are we going to go today?
We're as deep as we want to go.
There's things like
Dragon Tempter, by the way,
blankets.
says that she really likes this.
I was going to say blankets is all in blue. I think I read the sculptor's all blue with
with
maybe
Scott
a little
McCloud.
bit of a little bit of
Fun Home
meat blue black. Yeah,
Fun Home Glue
I
too?
think so. I mean, that always leans very heavily on
Prime Darwin Cook, if you want to take a look at that.
Yep.
That's why the green is very appealing, because it like doesn't strictly denote that kind of downtrodden. Like some of those stories are very depressing in different ways.
These are beautifully
So
printed.
the choice of blue as the monochromatic color makes sense.
Blue is a very, obviously it's a calming, cooling.
Yeah, it's a somber tone.
Which green is next to that, but that's not the vibe you get off of this at all.
Yeah, it's lime green, but I mean, I think it would.
I love it.
Yeah.
It could easily be blue too, because that
Yeah.
that story is immediately heartbreaking, and I love it. That's the thing. I love stories that like make you really feel something. I mean, I love like gnarly action as well, but like
It's like men in underpants, basically.
yeah. Well, I mean, when I got a hold of James Herron's Ultra Mega, like I just like every
cool. Yeah,
freaking page
that's-
was just so awesome.
That's a great one that was very enjoyable. Like every time.
You got Ultra Mega too, right?
Yes, I did get Ultra Mega, and I did read that too. I would also say, if you liked Ultra Mega, another good book that came out around the same time is Jenny Zero. Very similar concept.
Another
With
kaiju.
Yeah, another
Right.
kaiju, transformation kaiju.
Right on.
But that one was a lot of fun too. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, Dragon Tempter's
Just
enjoying the
outrageous.
art up here, and then Murdoch says, monochromatic baby, LOL. Thanks, Murdoch.
That could be a comic right there. It's monochromatic baby, LOL.
Yeah, monochromatic baby.
It's just
Yeah,
a,
I like
a
it.
baby that's monochromatic.
So
LOL.
I think part of this podcast, however we do it, if we do it, whatever, a few more, is to also talk about what are some
Amazing
ideas we
stuff.
could take from some of this, and like, what are some ideas we could do to take and make our own comic out of, like monochromatic baby.
Yeah.
I feel like
I know,
that.
right?
I don't know what that is, but is that something we have to give writing credit then to
Yeah,
Murdoch 64?
right.
So I guess he's got part ownership.
Yeah.
But
Hey, Gail, get royalties when the book comes out.
You'll get 10% of $0.
do we want to look at the other?
Yeah, we can take
Alexis
a look
Ziritt book. I know
at,
Murdoch was interested in that one as well.
At Space Riders. Where did I even put that one down? Evan,
Oh,
you're
did
the
I
one
say-
who moved
I
it.
thought you took
No,
it. Oh.
no, you have it. Anywho, you're like the Gilman. Oh, you ever watch Kathy Lee and Regis back when you got
I'm
sick?
not as old as you.
Back when you got sick. Wait, what? You're older than me.
Oh, that's right.
And they would always give the producer a hard time about everything. They'd be like, Gilman, what are you doing?
So
Limited choices back then.
Even though this is not, I'm gonna keep mixing them up. One is Space Riders, the other is Night Stalkers.
Night Hunters.
Night
Night
Hunters.
Stalkers was Marvel in
There
the
you go,
90s.
okay. But in the
Same thing.
I've seen it, but I haven't seen it enough times, so it's not like ingrained in my brain. There's a lot of things from Night Hunters that reminded me of Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
So like they're weird cyberpunk. Most of them have some sort of augments, and they're chasing down scumbags and otherwise being weirdly tied in with governmental dealings in a way, but not in a way that makes sense. Like they're not the police, but they're fighting the police.
Some like in between sort of.
Some mercenaries or
Yeah.
some kind of thing like that.
So what's the premise of this book here?
The premise of the book is
Space.
from the galactic core to the outer quadrants, one name strikes terror in the hearts of evil beings everywhere: the Space Riders. Sailing the cosmos in the skull ship Santa Muerte, Capitan Peligro and his fearless crew deal harsh justice to the scum of the galaxy while searching for the forbidden truths of the universe.
And those truths are.
You gotta read the book.
Thought maybe I could just sneak to the end.
No.
Captain Dangerous and
The ship is named Santa Muerte?
Santa Muerte. I assume that has something to do with death.
Yeah. Saint Death.
Oh. I mean, and that's the ship right there. It's the skull.
Which is great.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah, like that's awesome. Like this guy's artwork. Like this one is.
Murdoch's has great cover, and I think we're all in agreement with that.
Oh yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
I'd wear that on a shirt.
And then Dragon Temple knows that I'm old.
Because you don't know who Regis and Kathy Lee are.
Who?
You're just gonna keep playing it for all it's worth, huh? We got this great like werewolf guy.
There's my favorite character in there though. That's the space baboon.
Mono.
There you go.
This guy right here. And then I can't remember her name, but I love this design too. It's very Metropolis.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say Yara. Is that right? Maybe.
We don't fact check anything on the show, so let's go with Yara.
Yeah. This book is just like beautiful. I didn't get a chance to reread this one before this. I reread Night Riders, but man, this is just like a tour de force of imagery. Oh my god!
I enjoyed both of them, but that one, like the vibrancy of the colors, did more for me. For whatever reason, I don't know. It scratched it like. I liked how bold Night Hunters is.
Mm-hmm.
But the full pan of colors in this one did more for me, I guess.
Yeah, that's one thing that because I follow Alexis Ziritt on social media, and one of the things that I think he likes, but he's also a little annoyed by because this happens to all artists. Like they work super hard on all parts of it, so a compliment is a compliment.
Yeah.
But he gets so many compliments on the color.
Oh.
It's kind of like,
okay.
But his line work is sick too.
His line work's sick, but I mean it's very bold color choices.
Yeah.
He's made, so.
Yeah, I wonder what the sketches look like.
I wonder if he goes straight in with inks.
It kind of seems like it. When you look at those cityscapes, it's like he's doing that directly.
In Night Hunters, especially, I had to be tough, trying to wrap my head around it. That you'd have something significantly different. Yeah.
I mean, even if you do like a real rough blue line,
sure.
You know what I'm saying?
But on social media, sometimes he'll put up a video of him working, and it looks like he's just got his brush pen, and he's just
going for it.
He's just going for it because I think he does a lot of commissions. I think he does a lot of client work, so he's just wherever there's a fraction of a moment, I think he's just roaring.
All right, why am I missing this reference? Murdoch says reminds me of a Shade the Changing Man with colors.
Oh yeah,
What was
Shade the Changing Man. That was a '90s book.
I know the
Peter
name.
Peter Milligan, Chris Bachalo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of them downstairs. That's the problem with being in my own house. Is all my comics are here.
I remember the name of that book, but I can't recall any visuals from it.
I feel like I remember.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
A lot of people, a lot of really vibrant colors. He has a coat of a
Technicolor Dream coat.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah,
it was Joseph.
But there's what is it?
Joseph
like,
and Shade might have been brothers. Maybe that was
the coat gives him different abilities, and he's also an alien that takes over a body of a human. They actually did a sequel to Shade the Changing Man recently, and I mean like in the last 5 to 7 years, called Shade the Changing Girl, and it was just as good, if not better.
Oh, I was waiting for you to say something critical of it.
Yeah,
there was
same.
a pause.
It was really, really, really good. Like, it was, and the young animal thing that Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance took over.
Gotcha.
That dude has some chops. Like, those, I haven't dug into all the books that he was kind of in charge of, but the ones that I have looked at, I have not been let down by so far. I mean, but it's another imprint that's come and gone. But at least it happened.
Mm-hmm.
At least it's a good one that did happen. But yeah, the color choice is very much like Shade the Changing Man.
Murdoch says the colors really pop in the series.
Yeah, they're fantastic. I feel like a Technicolor Spain Rodriguez meets Jack Kirby is kind of the vibe, and all in like glorious brush pen.
Hey, can I ask you guys a question about panels?
Yeah.
So like how the panels, like you see like the little wave in the line of panels.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you guys have any preference for when you're reading a book, or does it just kind of disappear?
Well, for me, it kind of leans on what the feel is. So, like, if you're doing that very clean, kind of new, like you definitely rendered a lot of stuff on the computer, I kind of think that a wavy line would detract from that. But like, if it's very bold and textural like this, I think the fact that it might not have been a hand-drawn box, but at one point it was. Or maybe somebody just used a stroke on whatever program they were laying it out in. And
I don't think
made
this guy's doing that.
And I just see that.
I always find myself going back and forth on whether I want to just like, because I'm working on, Photoshop. I've got Clip Studio Paint, which I realize makes the boxes, but I kind of feel like those boxes are a little too clean. I want it to be like a little...
I see what you're saying.
I think we're talking a lot about energy and things like that. Where if this Alexis Ziritt stuff had those really rigid panels, would it lose some of that energy?
Yeah,
I think it would.
It's the consistency throughout the rest of it.
But also, I feel like there's no rules to any of this stuff, and I think there are. And actually, before I'm a big, rules follower if I'm doing a comic, because I don't have the artistic chops of guys like you. Who can take and break those rules and still make it work. And I think that you could use a rigid panel, you could use a panel with texture. I think, can you mix? I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of great examples, and I'm not really getting anywhere with my thought.
You can mix
it.
But if you want to hand me, Wesley number 8, I think it's like right by you. That should be the bottom one. I think I've got, because I do a lot of rigid panels in my stuff.
Yeah.
Just because like breaking up the grid just helps you tell the story so much, and
it's just nice to have it like already set.
And if I want a big moment like this doctor talking, that's kind of like the second cover kind of, like I already know the size at which I can give him and still have room for the other parts of the story. So like the grid it's a nice safety net, I think, and I don't think it looks bad because people have been using it for a super long time.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering. Like, does it just like? Because to me, I feel like since I'm like embedded in the process, like I don't know if it disappears. You know what I mean? Like, does it just like how much does it matter? For looking
Look at Paul Chadwick's boxes.
Are they also hand drawn?
There's different line weight to them. You can see that. Even when you were flipping through it, I could see that they're like some of them are pretty dead on, but like there's a shift in the line weight from side to side.
And I like that. I think that there's a warmth to that. But also, again, there are going to be situations where a very over-rendered stiff scene may call for a more rigid panel, and where if you've got an Alexis Ziritt where you've got some energy all over the place.
But then, the designer in me also like this is a bit of a messier illustration.
Yeah, hold it on the camera so we can.
Yeah, the designer. Well, I want you guys to see it too. Mm-hmm. But the designer in me loves taking the edge of something messy and just cutting it clean.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, because he had that nice juxtaposition that's actually almost like it's contrasty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, contrast. That's my favorite design principle.
Yeah.
I can fall into that same if that's what you're trying to convey. To me, it's all what the artist is trying to put forth. So like if you had something like that and you wanted like a hard cut because you're getting ready to transition, maybe it's like a 45-degree panel and you're getting ready to do a different layout as the page goes on. It's certainly a different feel than like almost like the first couple times you're like drawing your own frames or a couple of panels, like you get the little bit of shaky line there, and maybe it's not a perfect square, but there's like a feeling of home there, I suppose, like where my brain goes.
What was the Iron Man comic we were looking at a few weeks ago?
Oh, it was one of the newer Iron
that was just so over-rendered. It was beautifully I'm going to say it was beautifully illustrated. Very well done. The guy who was drawing it certainly had technical proficiency when it came to art, but the line work was so rigid and everything was so over-rendered and so stiff, it really didn't even read as a comic to me.
No.
Like, Aaron and I were looking at it, we're like, I don't even know what to make of this, because it's just so perfectly sterile that there's no warmth to any of the characters, there's no energy. Nice looking drawings, but like it didn't read as a comic, and I feel like that's what sometimes those where the line weights vary, where things like that, it adds that human quality to it that I think as we get more and more into digital things, you could easily get further and further away from. Although I feel like, you know, with all of these digital tools too, it could expand your palette into using, you know, effects like that call back those.
I mean, there's some
human techniques.
So one of your prime characters is like a mechanical character.
Yeah.
Do you ever find yourself wanting to kind of give those sharp lines and kind of that cleaned up thing when you're doing a Wesley arm, or like when you're wanting to maybe change his faceplate, or, you know, because like I see where Evan's saying, but like that thought of Iron Man like having that just kind of obnoxiously clean, like very like all those hard lines and very polished illustration style. It's like, I wonder if that was the trappings of somebody trying to draw a mechanical or like mech type suit, in like, it's like, if I draw them too loose, like it's not gonna look mecha.
Right. Especially like when you're thinking about like the level of design that machine would actually need.
I see what you're saying. And I mean, a craft is important to me, like a high level of craft. I'm always trying to get better on that. But I think Wesley is actually the most expressive character in Wesley the Robot.
Yeah.
And it's not like Bill Sienkiewicz's Warlock from New Mutants, but I'm always thinking of Bill Sienkiewicz's Warlock from New Mutants, where like he's definitely not as abstract as that.
Yeah.
But like he's the most abstract character in the whole thing, because like his face can if we had made a movie of him, his face would not really change. But in the comic, like his eyes change a little bit, his mouth changes a little bit, his claws change all the time, his size changes all the time.
That's funny, actually, because I do feel like you're very focused on reference when you're doing things, and I feel like when I'm drawing, I'm just cartooning, I'm just trying to picture how things look.
Yeah. And
my forms get kind of weird, whereas yours are very spot on because you want to capture a real look of that person, that scene, or whatever. But Wesley's your way out of that.
Yeah.
Wesley's your way of not doing that and just having that expressive element amongst things that are very photo sourced and referenced, which is very interesting. I never thought about that.
Contrast.
That's exactly what I was going to say. And like you get like that, the expressive quality of the line work in a robot, you know, like that makes him more. It's not a robot to us, you know what I mean? I mean, it's a robot, obviously, but like it makes us feel something for this character because it's able to emote. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, and Scott McCloud talks about like the reduction of the face. How like if you draw like just a smiley face, people relate to that more than like if it was a photorealistic image of my own face.
Yeah.
So Wesley's face is also reductive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think that's actually really fun because, you know, like trying to like act your character with all these limitations. It becomes so important, like body language and all this stuff.
Yes.
You know, and the expressive becomes so much more important because you only have limited movement with those things. Like, you know that character I have called Cathead?
Yeah.
You know, it's like a person with a cat mask, and literally, like, it's just holes for eyes. There's no mouth at all. There's no eyebrows. There's nothing to, like, emote. So, like, it has to be, like, in, like, these subtle little things. Like, you were talking about the little changes of the eyeballs. You know, just the shape of the eyeballs to emote. Try to emote with that.
Every good Spider-Man artist does that.
Yeah.
Every good Spider-Man artist plays with his eyes a little bit, and just that little sense of emotion.
Yeah.
And some are better at it than others, but I always felt like if you're a good Spider-Man artist, that's not a rigid shape. That shape changes based on what's happening in that scene or what emotions you're trying to project.
Yeah, like the next, like if you ever see another Wesley drawing, like he has a pretty worried expression most of the time, so, even though his face can't change.
Yeah.
Murdoch said Jack Kirby style exactly. That was probably 5 minutes ago, so I'm not sure. And then
Probably
Dragon
talking about
Tempter
Alexis Ziritt.
threw a bunch of Wesleys in the chat.
Yeah.
Bunch of Wesleys in the chat.
I'll be able to cultivate an animated GIF from a sequence I have in Wesley 9 too.
Nice.
But I don't want to just make this like Wesley time, because like I could easily just go there.
You could just draw Wesley for an hour. Like,
I could.
Like the normal Thursday.
I think in this, well, yeah, because that's what I usually do with this time slot. But in that sketchbook I gave Evan, I think there is. I think I actually did do there's a Wesley drawing in the back. That I forget what I was doing for that. But I drew like Sean Young during the Blade Runner thing. Yeah, like.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Like
great.
Kaitana, how much of your day do you spend drawing? Or making art?
All day. That's all day. I mean, like today, like I woke up at 6:30 and got my coffee, did a quick little exercise routine, and got right to it. I had to work on some logos first thing in the morning. I'm like after I leave here, I got to finish up a proposal for a mural downtown, and then
So that's your what's your real gig?
it's just art. I just do art. It's Black Rabbit Studio.
Okay.
So I do basically anything and everything that's related to artwork. So I do logo work, murals, T-shirt designs, posters designs, and make my own prints and stuff like that. And I've got like oddball weirdo jobs. Like right now I'm working on a project for the United Way of Central New York, and it's a bunch of show cards for each of their organizations, so that they can recreate this photo that they took like let's see, 30 or 40 years ago with their organizations. They had expanded, so I got to paint 70 of these show cards. It's all hand lettered signs.
How did you get into the hand lettered signs?
It's actually interesting because when I used to as soon as I got out of college, I immediately hit the ground running because I was really terrified of not having a life in the arts. So I'm just like, there's no fucking way. I'm sorry, I don't know if you can guys.
Yeah, you're
So-
good.
You're gonna have to leave.
Oh, sorry, I'll be saying
No one's ever sworn in this house before.
So, but basically, I was like, there's no way I'm not gonna have a life in the arts. I'm doing it. I don't care what it takes. And so we immediately started a artist collective and stuff like that. So we were doing, alternative space shows, organizing shows, and then I was sending stuff out all over the place. But meanwhile, I was also doing craft shows, like small shows where I would be selling my prints and stuff. And so I kept on trying to figure out ways to get people to actually like buy stuff. Mm-hmm. And then I started watching this documentary called Handmade Nation, which was this documentary maker named Faith Levine and Sam Macon. They put together this documentary. It's all about the rise of indie craft in America, sort of like punk rock crafts, like people that were just like, making grandma crafts, but they're doing cool punk stuff with it.
Punk grandmas.
Yeah, punk grandmas, basically.
Okay.
And so I was just like, I really loved what she was doing. I was following her on Flickr, and I happened to notice that she started posting up things about signs, like painted signs. I'm just like, painted signs, man, I never thought about that. I never thought about, painted letters. And so I started, really thinking about like watching what she was putting up, and it turned out that her and Sam Macon were making another documentary all about the craft and nearly lost art of sign painting.
That was my grandfather's primary gig.
Okay.
He's kind of like a local musician, and that was like one of the ways that they like really made money was that he was a sign painter.
That's
which
cool.
is funny that I work for Public Works, and I sort of fumbled my way into traffic. So like now I make signs too. Like we don't do a lot of like hand painting anymore, but like I'm sitting there editing documents to make street signs and.
Yeah, you've got the big like vinyl cutter.
Yeah, we've got like a big like 50-something inch plotter and like a 60-inch wide format and just unrealistic amount of dollars of vinyl sitting around.
Wild. Yeah, but I mean, that's how I got into it. I just started thinking about painted letters, and then I found that there's actually a structure to these letters, which really actually enhanced my design skill. My design brain just really like turned it up to like 11, man. And
You ever a graffiti guy?
Sort of. I mean, not like I was.
Bombing the streets of Oswego?
Yes, but not with tags. I did stencils. We did stencils in pizza boxes in the bottom of bags. I was just talking about
That's progressive though. That's more Banksy. That's
well, I would just cut out a stencil out of plastic, paste it in the bottom of a paper bag and then put my spray can in there, so I could literally just stop, pretend I'm tying my shoe, and just spray it and just pick up my bag and keep on walking. So I did little spacemen around Oswego.
Oh, I love vandalism. Vandalism, but art. Oh.
Yeah. If it's good, that's
so
condition.
Everybody that has lived in Oswego long enough knows that there is a humongous mural of like a Metroid, the original Metroid scene under the Utica Street Bridge. It has been there for probably 25 or 30 years now, and nobody has ever tagged over it.
Yeah, respect, man.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, this thing has to be 60 feet wide and probably 10 feet tall. And it's just like the original Metroid, like shooting at a Metroid. But a lot of other things haven't survived. They used to tag some 8-bit art underneath some of the bridges around here, and people would just go and put your...
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to call anybody's like tag garbage, but it's like if somebody went through the trouble of doing like a 5-color 8-bit and then you like blasted pink like single line chunk over the top of it, it's like, okay, I get it, but
I mean, like I love street art. I mean, like everything that like I had been looking at Space 1026 when I was coming out of college. And that was a spot in Philadelphia where all these like cool street artists were showing their artwork, including like Espo was part of that crew, Twist, like Mario Kilgallen, like all these folks that were like doing like really cool stuff that were both like on the street and in galleries.
Is Twist still alive?
I don't know. I think so.
I feel like I read. I don't know. That was and I don't know graffiti very well, but Twist character stuff was huge for a period of time when I was very young.
Absolutely.
And just starting to understand the art world. So there was like a year or two of time where I kind of obsessed over a lot of his tags and his pieces. But then I don't know. I hope I'm not slandering the man by saying that I feel like maybe something. I don't know. Whatever.
Like Barry McGee was like, he was sort of one of the main people that was both in the gallery, and every time he would do a gallery show, he would also go on the street and do Twist stuff, And like you'd see like him, like Margaret Kilgallen, like all over Coney Island, as well as LA, but I love that stuff, and so it definitely like influenced like all the other stuff. So like even in my comic you'll see like little bits of like graffiti and stuff in there.
That's cool. Dragon Tempter says gasp Metroid.
Yeah. I made some stencils back in the day, but they're so tied to the things I like. I never did them because like one was Wesley. I mean, it would have been sick to do, but I mean, I still have it. I could still do it. I could do it tonight.
Yeah, let's go.
And the other one was that one Grace Jones album where they cut up her photo and just made her mouth huge.
Oh yeah.
I did one of that too because I just love Grace Jones because she's so cool.
I did one of the kid in Rushmore, but it said Oswego was my Rushmore.
Okay. My wife would love that because she loves Jason Schwartzman.
Oh yeah, well, what's not to love?
Yeah. It seems like a good dude too.
Yeah. Not a bad band. What was he?
Phantom Planet. Yeah, their second album, when he wasn't the drummer anymore, I really like that one a lot. I don't think the first one's bad either, but he has another one called like Coconut Records or something like that, where he sings with a girl in it. I think. I don't know. I used to know all the stuff with music. Oh, we got our official Tootsie Cam.
Yeah, we're gonna do Tootsie Cam real quick because we're running out of time here.
All right, so hey, there she is. All right, Tootsie. So yeah, we talked quite a bit about Alexis Ziritt. We talked about making comics. We talked about structure of comics.
Do you want to do this again? I think it's like a once a month thing and just kind of hang out and talk comics.
I mean, I love talking comics, man. Especially, I love like talking about like how they're made.
Yeah.
Well, can I tell you what Aaron and I's secret goal is?
What's that?
Is like if we're hanging out, we'd love to just like it's a shame if 4 creative people get together and don't try to make some kind of little something, even if it's a doodle or a sketch or a single page comic or a single panel comic.
Yeah.
So I think that what Aaron and I want to try to do is just turn this into, hey, let's just talk about some stuff, but let's also fool around with some art stuff, and then let's try to make a little something.
Yeah, I'm down.
Okay.
I'm down for sure.
Even Tootsie can make something.
Yeah, why not?
We'll put some ink on her paws and walk across some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we'll have not only just Gimme Indie Comics, but Gimme Indie Comics group. And then, this is my pie in the sky dream.
Yeah.
Is that like that could just be like a free comic thing that we give out, and it's a kind of like a thing that can hold these other things.
I don't know. I think it'd just be a shame if we got a bunch of creative people together once a month and there wasn't some kind of I mean, the podcast is something creative enough that's coming out of just hanging out. But I don't know. I think that would be like the challenge. Maybe it's just what without any rules or restrictions or have to do this or that. But
and keep it real short too. Even if we do anything,
Mm.
like at most a one pager. I think
even just to talk about a panel, trying to come up with a funny joke, a funny premise, based on something that we read, something that we did, whatever.
Like I was talking about, I've had this character. I don't know where this came from. I think it's because anytime I'm in a crowded space and I'm trying to not be in the way and trying not to impede traffic, I always somehow exactly go in the path that someone else is trying to go, even though I'm trying to get out of their way. So I've come up with this character called the Obstacle. And so we've just been chatting, and like a little bit, like there's more and more that's kind of come to fruition about this character. Like I came up with a name for him, his alter ego. It's Barry Cade.
Nice, dude. That's a dad joke, bro.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's got to be like Silver Age dumb, just like the super obvious. And so he's going to be like a parody of like a Steve Ditko character. He's not going to get bitten by a radioactive spider. He's going to stumble into like an enchanted sawhorse.
Oh, whoops. Yeah, what?
And then I'm going to make fun of the Flash, the Speed Force. If you ever heard of that, it's something that exists in Flash comics. I'm sure I'm making like some Flash fans mad or something, but maybe not. But then the Obstruction Force just takes him to places where they just need him to be in the way.
Oh yeah,
I was like,
absolutely.
Like he's the ultimate anti-hero. He's like, I don't even want to be here.
half in that conversation when you guys were having it, like, you're trying to like storyboard your way through. He's sort of helping, but really not.
He's helping by like not helping.
Yes, like his origin is he'll try to use that power to like be a wrestler. But the Obstruction Force won't help him wrestle at all, so he'll get totally beat up and like not make any money. But then at the end, when the place the place gets robbed by the robber from the wrestling match, the Obstruction Force will have him stop the robber, and then the guy will be thankful, but still won't give him any money.
Yeah.
But that's where I think my comment of, is it like a Midas touch? Is this like a cursed power?
Well, I like the idea of Aaron and I were talking, like the premise of the beginning of every adventure could just be his body just being flown through time and space, like, oh god damn it, like, and all of a sudden,
like quantum leap, like
and all of a sudden he's just in a situation where he's like, look, I'm really sorry, this happens a lot. Just bear with me, like.
I'm stuck. Okay, there's no way you guys can get past me.
There's like always walking through a doorway at the same time somebody else is.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the only way you can get through a door.
Like no matter what, he cannot get. There's no way he could easily pass through a door. It's always like at the exact same time. Shoulders wedging.
He actually just like waits nervously outside the door until someone else comes up, and then he's compelled to.
The revolving door is just empty for like 15 minutes. The minute someone walks up, he steps in.
Somebody captures him and it becomes a perpetual motion machine.
He's like, oh, I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry. I can't stop.
Murdoch64 says he loves your spinner rack.
Yeah. I highly recommend it. Speaking of spinner racks, on Monday we're gonna have a very special guest in the Comic Shop Does a podcast.
We're gonna have the spinner rack from Fred's News.
Yes, which for those of us who've been in the area for a long time, we went to Fred's News for the comics, and the comic shop opened. We went there for the comics, so it's got some cool history and some nostalgia built in.
They're gutting Fred's News, and one of our regulars brought us over the one spinner rack that they had in there, which was in pretty good shape.
Yeah,
which needs to be cleaned up a little bit.
Yeah, I found a spinner rack on the side of the road.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And I was just like, yoink, it didn't make any sense why I was out there. It was totally fine. It was all blue, so I snagged it.
Yeah, this one was new from Diamond, but I love that. The furniture takes up very little space, very useful. You can just sit in that couch and read some books.
If only we could powder coat the one that you had. But
well, dude, that's why I wanted to talk to you, because I was like, is this something we can clean up and powder coat? And then I was thinking, am I just overthinking it? Because when you were like, just clean it up and spray paint it, I was like, all right.
If you powder coat it, you're gonna have to send it off, because I don't know anybody with an oven that big. Like we could get powder, but
because that's why I told Martin wanted to clean it up, and I was like, I bet Alex could get us to powder coat it. But then when you said just spray paint, I was like, all right, maybe
you could hit it with a couple layers of nice enamel and maybe a little bit of varnish, and it'll look almost the same.
Yeah.
This has been Powder Talk. Just Give Me Indie Comics.
I'll talk paint and stupid
Industrial
stuff all
paint
day
design
long.
podcast.
Yeah. Like the other half of my job is like, well, I don't know, how do you get parts and materials to make it look right?
Just get it close enough.
That's a lot of times, yes, close enough. It's like, if it visually looks right, you're good to go.
All right, I think it's plug time.
Do you want to plug anything?
Yeah, we can plug some stuff. So I do. Was it The Robot? Pizza's Pizza. Those are my comics. Creep of the Crop is another one I'm working on. Was he number 9? I think I'm going to try and get out by October. Maybe you debut that one at Uticon, because I overheard some chatter when I was in New Hartford over the week about the owner came in and talked to the manager of Ravenswood, which is another shop out in New Hartford area, and it seems like that might be a possibility for me to do. The human son of a living pizza man must fight evil anchovies with the help of LT Provolone, like Judge Dredd with the cheese on his head. Was it The Robot? Like Indie Rock College Radio meets the Iron Giant with interviews and reviews in the back. I've got interviews with bands like The Faint, Interpol, Ipso Facto, all these cool things I did from my music blogging days. Creep of the Crop is a zine comic, 30 pages of terror in the tradition of EC Comics with a rural ghost horror host, Creep of the Crop. I've got some other. I just got some new prints today, so I'll have those.
I hope you got some good rhymes about your books here.
No, I don't. I was just like marveling just now. I'm like, this guy's a DJ, bro.
Well, I have that experience too. Does anybody else? You want to plug some stuff?
Just keep an eye out for Rainbow Room, which hopefully will be coming out at some point, and then
we'll make a big stink about it when it comes out. Trust me.
Night Moves is a comic that I'm just going to do myself. Then that should be coming out like momentarily, and then I've got a couple mini comics about lowriders.
Cool.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Very cool. Alex, do you have anything you want to plug?
I don't make stuff that anybody can buy because I work for the government.
Well, we're trying to get you to finish up a comic that somebody can get for free.
Yeah, I mean, that I'm on vacation for like 2 weeks, so I think that I'll finally be able to get the frames put together of that. I'll sit down at Sarah's house this weekend and jam through some layout, and then it'll be done. And then I really can email you like a completed format of a thing that I drew, I don't know, two months ago.
I still have stuff I need to finish up for it too. But Evan, you have anything you want to plug?
SweetGoComicShop.com.
112 East Bridge Street.
The comic shop.
It's the cult. All right, and so I have this dream that at the end of the podcast, we'll just have people say, "Just give me indie comics," and I'll play the song.
He admits he didn't see the song.
There's a
Oh,
song?
there's a song.
All right, hold on. All right, Aaron, let us know when you're ready. You ready?
Okay.
We're on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Just give me indie comics, right?
Yeah.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
Just give me indie comics.